Hey, welcome back. We are starting off with your phrase or mine, and Oti has the phrase this week.
I've said this to you before, so you better get it.
So this is on the assumption that I listen to you. Okay.
And since we focused on birds,
And pulling, yeah.
a bird in hand is worth two in the bush.
It's better to go with the certainty instead of what's out there.
You got it right.
And that's why it's better to stick with us, friends and lovers. There might be better content out there, but we're all most welcome. Let's get on with the show. Friends and lovers, welcome back to For Your Reference. You've got your host Katie
and Doti.
And secure your balls, bus wankers, because we are on the pool, lads, right inside the pussy wagon. Yep, this week we are covering Britain's finest, and as far as I'm concerned, the fossil of Britannia, the Inbetweeners. Why has it taken us so long, OT?
I have no idea. I really don't have any idea about that.
We'll get into first impressions, but this is tried and true. You know, in between new shows or shows that we've been waiting to watch, Inbetweeners is always on in the For Your Reference household. So I really don't know why it took us so fucking long to cover it. But you're all most welcome along in this journey. The Inbetweeners, let's start off with some stats because that's what we do around here. Also, we take kindly to your kind around here, whether you're a first time, all the time, some of the time.
In between?
Damn, dog. Ring-a-ding-ding-ding. God bless the Inbetweeners, because didn't you forget about the frog song? Was it called the frog song?
Yeah, it was called the frog song.
It was a fucking ringtone, but it was called the frog song, right?
Yeah.
Or some
Crazy
shit like
Frog?
that. Crazy. Oh, good on ya. So it was called the same thing around the world.
Yeah, Crazy Frog.
Okay. So Inbetweeners came out from 2008 to 2010 in regards to the TV show. Obviously, there were a couple of films that spawned off on it. And the classic gold Australian sort of tangent that we have with Jay, which is kind of like a callback where he had his fake ID as an Australian. And then he had a car with Peter Andre, Mysterious Girl. We could spend the whole hour talking about that, but there's so much to cover today. The show had less than 20 episodes. Can you believe something that is so deliciously delectable in every orifice available? All of the thanks, all of the splooshes go to Damon Beasley and also Ian Morris. Damon also worked with Joe, who played Simon, for White Gold.
Oh, really?
That also had James Buckley, and your fella from Gossip Girl.
Yes, Chuck Bass.
Come on, I get some points. See, friends and lovers, we are called For Your Reference, and sometimes Katie uses references she doesn't understand.
Which is a cardinal sin.
But absolution is most welcome, and hopefully it is coming very soon. It came out of the E4. I think it airs on the Comedy Channel in Australia, if I can remember correctly.
Oh, did it?
It's on a channel that you have to pay for in Australia, essentially. But wow. It really took the world by storm. Let's just get into it. Let's talk about first impressions. If this is the first time you've listened to For Your Reference, we love ya. This is just to give you a bit of peppering. We all have a frame of reference. So I guess this will just give a bit of an understanding of our opinions and our thoughts and our splooshes about what we feel about this show. So let's get into it. OT, where were you at this time? Did you watch it when it first came out? I think you actually watched it before we were together, right?
No.
Oh,
this is a show Katie introduced into my life.
Virgin one you are.
Well, unlike most, I wasn't fingering all the bards in here, and
well, apparently a lot of them weren't either, except for Neil.
Oh, Neil was getting,
but not
all
Neil's
the birds.
dad.
Oh, Neil.
Oh, Neil.
But yeah, never really bothered watching it for some reason.
So you knew it was. Did it hit the shores of Kenya?
Yes.
Okay.
I just didn't partake.
Okay.
And you couldn't stop talking about it every single time you would bring it up. You were watching it even when you were like, I'd be working on something and Katie would just be there watching Inbetweeners. I was like, all right, let's give it a go. And she was more than willing to start over again and just watch it.
Yeah,
And
that's zero character development, because even while you're working, I still don't do anything.
So it was just bloody amazing.
Like, because it's British humor, but it's also a new wave of Briton sort of humor, right? So did it take you some time to like dive into it, or you just like straight from the jump, all of the dicks, all of the boners?
I just lashed onto it. Like it's not my first sort of British comedy, and
all right, let's give OT some chance to pull his spectacles out.
my monocle.
But 2 monocles equal a spectacle, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I really just took to it. Like it felt like second nature just watching this, and it was really fun seeing this for adolescent teenagers just navigating the so-called world of high school and life, and how difficult or easy it is.
Because you have, adult sort of humor in like South Park, for example. South Park can get away with a fucking lot. Like there's a lot in the animation sort of format you can get away with because of its format. So I guess this came at a perfect sort of time.
It did. And at first I was kind of cautious that high school sort of setting. I was like, I'm kind of over this sort of shows right now. But
you want your teenagers to look 30 years or 50 years old like Grease.
Yeah, Grease set the benchmark, Let's go with it. I was expecting to see someone like Mr. Gilbert being the high schooler,
Greg Davies, yeah.
Yeah, rather than the teacher.
Jesus, what a hard life that high school student would have had.
Oh, yeah.
And cute call out. Let's just quickly go to the cast. Simon Bird. He is well beloved in the For Your Reference household. Friday night dinners would probably be a reference at the end of this episode, but we fucking love him.
Yeah.
He's great. He has a character that he plays to, and he plays it very well. I'm just going to mention the main cast. We have James Buckley as Jay. Apparently, he wasn't really acting. He was kind of himself. He actually auditioned for Neil, and Damon and Ian realized that they kind of miscasted him, so they left him to the side. But they just they couldn't get him out of his mind, and apparently he was so fucking annoying. So they kind of just made a character for him, and he kind of just became himself.
Oh, brilliant.
And I was just watching interviews of the cast, and Blake, who plays Neil, was telling a story about how James really liked to chat up the extras. And he had actually made up a party at a fake hotel that didn't exist, and he was trying to get them to go to that party. The real actor. So it's not too far off, and we definitely need to talk about Jay and his dad.
Oh dear, yeah.
Maybe not what the dad was doing in the caravan toilet, but fucking hell, that whole caravan episode was fucking gold.
Oh dear.
Bricks of gold, if you're nasty. We also have
Nuggets of gold.
Right. James Buckley was in White Gold that we mentioned. We've seen him. And he was also on the Stand Up to Cancer, Great British Bake Off.
Yeah.
Very cute to see him there. But he was very couth.
It was very cool. Yeah.
I was waiting
so he was very yeah.
He was very toward. I was not expecting that. We have Blake Harrison, who plays Neil. He was in a show that we watched. It was something about the future, wasn't it?
Yeah, time travel and stuff, right?
Yeah, I actually liked that.
Yeah, it was good.
I don't know. You may be a Breton. You might indulge yourself in the Breton world. But there's so much quality. But that also means that the series are very short, and sometimes they don't come back. Or sometimes they take 2, 3, 5 years to come back.
Yep.
But it was nice to see him there as well. And let's just round off the in-betweeners. We have Joe Thomas playing Simon Cooper. And he's also in Black Gold, and he wrote that with Damon.
Yeah.
Simon was a funny one. We'll go into the characters, but you would think Simon was the normal one, but as time goes on.
Yeah, he's unhinged.
Oh, yes.
He's the crazier one, I'd say.
Slap a flaccid dick. Unhinged. And the fact that I said that without twisting my tongue around another dick is a whole nother story. Well, let's get into my first impressions. I didn't watch Inbetweeners when it first came out, surprisingly. But I did watch it in pretty much the age range it was targeted to. Unfortunately, fortunately, I did have a manager at a part-time job I was working at, and everyone said he was exactly like Will from Inbetweeners. And it was before I had watched Inbetweeners. And this wasn't really it wasn't really a job that people dream about. It wasn't really a career path. It was kind of like a transient, like you work here, you get paid as a side sort of job, and then you move on with your life sort of place, right? And he was like, you know what? Like, Will is the definition of middle management. Like, he's got enough power to feel like he has power, but he's powerless in every other regard.
Yep.
And when I had watched Inbetweeners after that, I was like, oh, fuck, I could have laughed along with everyone else if I had just understood that reference. PSA, guys, understand the fucking reference to, right? But I fucking love Inbetweeners. It was great. And I do just want to specify, I went to an all-girls high school. So any of the pheromones were well over the distance, right? There were girls climbing over the fence to get to the fellas, but that wasn't me. If you find any CCTV saying otherwise, don't believe it. Hashtag fake news. So I got the gist of like teenage guys, right? I didn't care for it, but in a TV show, bring it on. I want to make it very clear. I would not have hanged out with any of these guys during my high school years, but having finished high school and watching it and just knowing how disgusting teenage straight boys can be, I wholly enjoyed this series. I don't think it got super deep, did it? Not that it had to.
Really didn't, but we weren't watching it to get deep.
Well, we happen to make things very sad or very deep out of nowhere. So I guess we'll see. But I found so much joy in watching Inbetweeners, and I fucking loved how vulgar it was. It was exemplary.
Oh, that it was.
It was the cream of the crop, if you will. So I guess we've talked about the series generally. Let's get into the characters.
Ooh.
I know we've kind of already talked about them. Actually, before we talk about the main characters, who would you say is your favorite? And you can give your criteria of what you specify as why they're your favorite. But I just want to know, just snap decision off the top of your head, who's your favorite?
I'd say Simon.
Wow. We're going to learn a lot about you, sir.
No, Simon, because he's a bit more relatable. Yeah, to some extent, more than the others. Because Jay is just super wacko. Like, if you had a friend like Jay, you'd be busting your bloody head in every time.
But he's like that one friend, like, you know, years and years later, you're like, why the fuck was I friends with this guy? He's a pathological liar. And we'll talk about him as a character. But okay, so Simon's your favorite.
Yeah, definitely Simon. I think I know who you'd go with.
Okay, do it.
Neil.
No. Will's
Will?
my favorite. I think if I step out of my self-awareness pool, then I could very easily become Will, because I'm very black and white. You know, rules are the rules. Rule are rule. Dr. Stone for our anime fans. And there are so many instances where Will just he just steps his life in shit. Right. And when we talk about Simon, we can go through that. But I relate to that so much.
Yeah, I could see as a Will.
I was a fucking tyrant in high school.
No, I could picture you as a Jay in high school.
Fuck, do you remember, I think it was a school dance, the girl that gave him a hand job and it looked exactly like him? Ew. Are you saying that's me?
Yeah.
Damn, dog.
Oh, dear.
I had hoped for higher, but, you know, it's always good to be honest, right? Why would you say Neil is my favorite?
I don't know. Like he goes under the radar most of the time.
Because he's tall and lanky and likes to finger, because that's you, sir.
Yeah, you said it.
You did it. You whittled it.
But yeah, well, it's interesting that you went with Will. I found him at times sort of, I don't know. I just couldn't relate to him at all.
But you don't think that I'm quite similar in like this needs to be that way?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
So do you see any similarities between you and Simon?
Not similar. No, I didn't go with someone just because I'd see similarities with him. I just resonated with him more in this.
Okay, better
among the
question.
three.
Who are you most like in the Inbetweeners? We've never done this. I don't think we've ever talked about this in any of our other episodes, right?
No. Wow. I don't know. Let's do each other. Who do you think?
Well, I told you, I think I'm most like Will.
No, you do me.
I think you're Neil.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like you don't say much, and then when you do say something, usually it means it's something profound, but when you say something, it's like, what the fuck? It's like, who let this guy in here?
Thank you. Jesus Christ.
That wasn't a compliment. See, Neil?
Did you hear the tone I said? Bloody hell, do I need a sarcastic microphone here so you can tell what it is?
Too jazzy?
Oh, too bloody jazzy.
There are so many quotes and lines we just take from the Inbetweeners without even realizing, right? Okay, which character do you want to start off with?
Let's start off with your favorite, Will.
My favorite Will? There's so much to say about Will. I think his sense of self is directly related to the control that he has or he thinks that he has in his life. And whenever that unravels, that's where you see all of the fun and all of the hijinks in the show.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And he has a fit mom.
He does have a fit mom. Do you remember in, I can't remember which movie it was, but she was using the Skype and she was like trying to turn off the call and her titties were in the camera.
Yep.
But she understands the sexuality that she yields.
She's kind of like Gillian Anderson in Sex Education.
How dare you? No one is Gillian Anderson. Right?
She played that. She kind of like represented that similar sort of role.
What did Will's mom do aside from other people?
That's the same thing Gillian Anderson is doing in sex ed.
Damn, dog. She was a sex therapist. It's a proper profession. You datty pig. I'm sure we'll cover sex education, but obviously we need to pay homage to the Inbetweeners. I don't even know what the fuck she did. It doesn't even matter, right?
Nah, it doesn't. It's more of a character just for Jay to fantasize about.
Speaking of, Jay's mum will do it for a packet of biscuits. There was so much lusting in this series, and obviously because it's teenage boys.
Yeah.
But do you remember? And it was leading up to the school dance, but they were talking about, I think she was a biology teacher or she was a science teacher, and they were talking about how she's so fucking hot. And Will was like, no, I think she's just the only lady that's closest to our age.
Yep.
Actually, let's take a step back for a second, because obviously there's some sort of overlap in your frame of reference. What was it like being a teenage boy?
Oh, pretty much what you watched in Inbetweeners. Horny as fuck. And I went to a mixed school. And it was boarding. So the girls would be sleeping within the school compound and the girls would stay outside. So they had like dormitories outside the school.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So it was pretty much the same. I would always try and get there.
Okay. It was like your nightly mission.
Pretty much, because
retreat.
That's the only thing boys thought of, you know. Okay. But anyway, I'm digressing. But it was exactly what the sort of dynamism where you'd have friends, some more horny than others, just some coming off as bloody rapey as G sometimes. But it was all the same sort of similar dynamisms, and it's quite interesting just being taken back to that sort of world and just enjoying it fully and realizing what the fuck.
Well, I because my parents are brown and religious, they told me that I should learn about sex at school. So my sort of early education was from 8-year-old boys. Not in a touching sense. Settle down, kids. There will not be a 60 minutes piece on me, at least not yet. So that wasn't the best way to learn about things, and obviously I didn't really learn anything either.
Oh yeah, same with me. My parents never taught me anything about that. It was all from just exploring, even before school covered it. So it was ridiculous.
And self-exploration is very important.
Yeah. You get to find a lot out about yourself when, you know, it's just all instinctual.
You can feel a lot about yourself as well. Yeah, so Inbetweeners was just a breath of fresh air. It was very liberating in many ways as well.
Oh, for sure.
So again, I went to an all-girls high school, but in my primary school, which I think you guys had primary school in Kenya.
Yeah.
Which is based off the Britons, which Australia is based off as well. American fans. I I think they have elementary and middle
Elementary.
school.
Yeah.
I don't really know which one is that, but in primary school, for me, boys were actually like pulling bra straps.
Oh yeah.
Like that was a thing. Was that just a Western
No,
thing?
I think that's a Western thing.
Oh, okay.
African boys have lines, mate.
Oh, okay. So you would wank in shame.
With wank and shame in the corner somewhere.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to finish.
Oh yeah.
The shame is an essential component to fruition. But like, because my parent, or especially my mother, she denied that my sister and I had any sort of sexuality. So even though we possibly were developing, we didn't get those cute sort of bras. So no one was like snapping my bra, which is fine. I had like, you know, the old pioneer first settlement to Australia sort of bras, no underwires. That means nothing to, I guess, people that don't have breasts, but like they weren't cute. Like underwear was not cute. At all. So all of that sort of like sexual energy, it was just like in a different direction, which I am completely happy with. Guys my age growing up in school were sweaty and gross, and as far away as you could be, I was most welcome. But let's go back to Will. He had a very stringent way of doing things, and there's also a big parallel between his character and the rest of the guys because he came from a private school. I think in the very early episodes, if not the first episode, he gets called a briefcase wanker.
Yep.
Very satisfying. Like, I feel like wanker is just a great word.
But some man who goes with the briefcase to school?
Yeah, but he was just being
Sometimes you
himself.
just bring things to yourself. I don't know, mate.
There was actually, in primary school, there was a guy that brought a suitcase to school. I guess because he couldn't afford a briefcase, but he brought like a suitcase to school, and like I wonder how he fared in the world. Who knows? I hope you are well. But just weird. But he had a very particular way of living, and you have characters that are very like that. You know, they like to immerse themselves in like extracurricular activities. The person that comes to mind, I think her name is Paige in Atypical. You know, characters that really find their identity in doing things and being immersed and getting involved.
Oh yeah.
And that sort of thing. But Will was a fucking psycho. Let me bring you to a couple of examples that, you know, if I wasn't careful, I probably would have dived into as well. I guess the most jarring example of Simon and how uptight he was and how much he followed the rules. Because apparently...
Of Will, you mean?
Yes. How dare I mention the thespian? I don't want to besmirch Simon, not yet anyway. With Will is when they finally went to the amusement park that Neil works at. And they were waiting for a long time in line to ride the really scary roller coaster ride.
Oh, yeah.
And Will did not let it go. The guy that, you know, like, I don't know if it's as bad as America, but the guy that was working at the theme park, you knew he wasn't getting paid enough to have to deal with this.
Nah.
Have this back and forth with this annoying kid. And Will's like, no. We waited. These are our seats. And then the guys were like, just go. And he's like, fine, I'll sit next to these ungrateful assholes. And you see that they're disabled, and he's like, what do you even do? What do you even do at that point?
There's nothing you can do, is there? Just look down, or, you know, and pretend that never happened.
I guess the horror started before the roller coaster started. But I not to that extent, but I've been in examples before where I'm like, the rules are like super, super important. Just so many examples like that. Not to a serious sort of extent, but when he was planning one of the dances that they have, the one that's like super purple, he addresses Mr. Gilbert as Phil.
Yep.
He's like, thanks, Phil. He's like, no, thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Actually, Will and Mr. Gilbert actually have quite a lot of dynamics, even before he gets with the mum. So it's quite nice to see their, not necessarily journey, but their sort of interactions.
Oh, yeah.
Together as well. Even when he was in the exam and he asked to go to the toilet for the 5th time in 1 hour.
Oh.
Come on, we've all been there.
We have, unfortunately.
And sometimes we didn't make it there, just like Will.
Okay.
When he said I farted, I thought it was safe. just oh, he just has like his whole energy is my love language. I just love everything about Will. He is wrong in the worst of ways, but I fucking love Will. He's kind of the catalyst for getting them into the ridiculous situations that they get into.
Yeah, because he tries to follow rules all the time that takes him down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a crazy thing. Kids, don't follow rules, mate.
Don't follow rules or don't be influenced by your peers.
Both.
Okay. Don't do anything. Stay home. Stay home and watch Inbetweeners, friends and lovers, and listen to our episodes. We've got a whole catalogue for you. Let's move on to another character. Should we do Simon?
Oh, Simon.
He's the most normal
seemingly normal one.
Seemingly normal is apt. Yes.
Yeah, and watching this, I was, the first few episodes, you're like, yeah, Simon is a level-headed in this.
Yeah, because you needed some sort of balance, right? You needed a control in this boy experiment.
Only for him to unravel throughout the later episodes
Wow.
and to fully reveal who he was as a character. And bloody hell.
Like the way he would just scream at his parents.
He
reminded me of Justin Long's character in F is for Family. God damn.
Oh, yes.
That means nothing if you've never watched F is for Family, but you should.
It's a great show.
It's Bill Burr.
And that's why I love Simon so much, because it's always the most normal, sort of level-headed looking people that are kind of there, the surprise packages. And he definitely was a surprise in this.
And his package was a surprise to everyone in that fashion show. I think it was Lady Marmalade. Oh my God. Can you, if you're listening to this episode, please pause it and go and watch the clip where he does the fashion show, because he does it with so much confidence and he's like cocking his head.
And that was his real balls sticking out.
Actually, yes. That was his real balls. Game over.
Game over.
Right? Like method acting who? Until you present your real ball sacks, male and female, Cartman, I acknowledge you, then I don't recognize you as a thespian.
No, man. Because he had such some bloody freakish fancy. Even when he vomited on Carly's brother.
Yeah.
Oh, far out.
And let's talk about Simon and Carly.
Oh.
There were qualms, and all of the qualms were towards Carly mostly, but also Simon.
No, Carly all the way.
All right, settle down.
Like, far out, man. She stringed Simon along.
Yes, she did. Oh, totally.
Just because. And the fact, when Simon was interested in someone else, that's when Carly now was interested in Simon.
No, I don't think she was interested. She just wanted to...
pretended to be interested in him so that Simon could give him... bloody hell. And the fact that, I think this was later in, in the movies, where Simon traveled all the way to Australia to follow Carly and all that nonsense. Oh, that was one of the most infuriating things. Like, he gave up perfect relationships to be with Carly.
Okay, not perfect.
Okay.
In one of the movies, wasn't his girlfriend the one that was cutting his clothes and burning it?
Well, yeah, but that's fair enough,
Well, they do say that, you try to go for your mother's or your father's. I don't think Simon's mum was controversial in any way, though.
No.
His dad was.
Was it dad?
The dad had stories.
Oh, yeah. Actually.
And it was mostly about him and the mum fucking.
Did you have friends who would have parents who would be open like that?
No. No. You?
Hell no.
It wasn't something you talked about.
Yeah. That was so... If I had a parent say that, I'd be like, I don't even know, man.
Yeah, because it became such a normal thing. Everyone was just like, okay, fine.
Yeah, that's his dad.
It's not the first story we've heard. Right?
Yeah. Wow.
But Simon was a character. I think he knew that Carly had a hold on him and he just let it.
Yeah, but to what extent? To what extent do you draw a line and just say...
But eventually you grow out of it, right?
And after you're done with high school, ideally you should be done with that nonsense. But nah, man.
Well, he wasn't a fucking incel. Like...
Oh, he was heading there.
Oh, no. Simon Cooper 69.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or Simon Cooper 609.
But yeah, like, I love Simon though. Mm.
That much?
Yeah.
Wow.
All his scenes are hilarious. His interactions, his reaction to things.
But that's it. It's not necessarily him. Like he is like he's reflecting all of the colors off of him.
That's what makes the show, you know.
All right, settle down. It's not called In Simoners.
It should be.
Speaking of in anything, let's talk about Jay.
Whew.
Fun to watch, but not to be around.
Yeah, and some points it wasn't even fun for me anymore.
Really?
Like the parts where I just got really frustrated by him. Like, fuck's sakes, just say the truth. Just say one little truth. It won't hurt. And I think that frustration was more towards Jay in the movies rather than Jay in the show.
Yeah, and I guess that's just extra material.
That's just extra material. But in the movie, Jay is just too much.
But sometimes people are just like that.
Yeah.
Like, if we're talking like people that just lie for no fucking reason, I used to work with someone that had the absolute best life. Like every weekend he was going to the best, most exclusive of parties ever, right? His social media was, an influencer's wet dream, right? And then there was one time we went out for work drinks and we were in not necessarily what some people might call a dive bar. Like we weren't in the scummiest of scum, but we were in like a normal sort of pub. But he tagged all of us and said we were at this really exclusive club and we weren't. And that's why I'm like, I kind of had an inkling that this guy was full of shit and now I know he is. But he's fine with people knowing that he's full of shit.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe that's where I got an appreciation of Jay as a character.
I don't know. Like, yeah, he was... Well, it was all fun and games in the show, and then it just escalated in the movies. And about Jay, far out. But you could see why he's like that.
Oh, yeah.
You could see how he is like that, especially when we were shown his interactions with his father.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because his dad's a fucking loser, but he beats down on Jay.
A bit down, I think, is an understatement. What he's bloody doing is fucking brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jay just has to have this sort of demeanor or put up this facade just to feel better about himself in any sort of way.
So you understand that, but he still bothered you.
Oh, yeah.
You see, kids, rewind to when we thought we wouldn't get deep, and there you go.
Sometimes you just have to pull out yourself up by the bootstraps and, just break free.
Like, if you know better, do better, Jay.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's nice, though. I think he was a nice reprieve from real sort of teenage woes. But yeah, like you said, it gets to a point where it's like, really, dude?
Yeah. He got them lost in the desert. That was him, right?
I'm pretty sure it was him, yeah. Oh my God. And in that episode, weren't they trying to drink Neil's piss?
Yeah. And they wasted the one drop that actually did come out.
I don't think we researched enough. Sorry, friends and lovers. Was that a real dick? I don't think it was.
Probably prosthetic.
Prosthetics.
Ugh.
Well, if it was Joe, I'm sure he would have shown his dick.
I believe that to be the case.
Because you know what the funny thing was? Without even knowing, without even watching the interviews, when we saw Simon on the runway, we're like, are those his real balls? It was just like, those look like real balls.
Yeah.
You're just going to let me take the wheel on this one?
Take the wheel, man. Take the wheel.
I'll take the wheels and I'll take the balls if you're nasty. Very interesting. Very interesting about Jay as a character, but you can also just enjoy him as he is.
Oh, for sure. But
he's not an everyday friend, though.
Yeah, he has to be taken in moderations.
Yeah.
That weekend friend or once a month friend would probably
or like
be more
if you want to
apt.
go out every so often, he's your friend.
Yeah, he'll bring crazy times and fun. Like fun, crazy times to the party. But you do not want to be hanging out with him every single day. It will just be too much.
Well, like Jack Donaghy said in 30 Rock, never follow a hippie to a second location. Or just never follow Jay to a second location. Essentially. Let's talk about Neil. I think he had, I don't know if this is fair, but I feel like personally Neil had the least to mention in regards to the characters.
Like they didn't really focus too much on him. He was just there.
I think He was, well, the way it was described by Damon and Ian was he was thick, not like THICC, but thick as in dumb. But he was good looking enough to do well in life
Mm.
by being dumb, but also being particularly good looking, I guess, in contrast of the rest of the guys. Actually,
Go there. He's all right. He's good looking.
this isn't reference BuzzFeed, okay? No. Like Blake Harrison is very handsome. I'm not talking about him. I was talking about the other actor. But with Neil's character, like they were talking about how they weren't really sure how his character would be once they decided that it would be Blake that would be playing Neil. So that's an interesting sort of thing. But also at the same time, there's only so much you can take his character. Same with like Creed from The Office. Not necessarily Ray from Archer, but there was a balance. There's a balance in the formula of an ensemble cast that you would have. But Neil had some very interesting moments. Something that I always come back to whenever we're watching something, whether it's an anime or an action or a comedy or whatever, whenever something's like very brutal, I always think back to Neil punching that fish. Because it was just so unnecessary. And I think it was in the same cluster of episodes where they went on that school excursion, was with the pedo, the teacher.
Yeah. Peter, what was his name?
And we had Peter Kennedy.
Oh yeah, that was that's some creepy shit.
And then we also see him later on in the fashion show as well when he kept trying to dress Neil. And again, it could have turned into something a lot darker, but it stayed in the dark comedic sort of realm.
Or like there was an acceptance that he had an interest to children, and they just let him be, like controlled him. I don't know. Like they'd gone on.
There was a complacency.
Yeah, they'd gone on some sort of trip, and they were sleeping in the dorms, and Peter Kennedy was strolling around, only for Mr. Gilbert to come and just pull him away. Like, okay, yeah, it's all right.
This is as much as we're gonna deal with it. That's it.
Yeah.
But Neil was a very interesting character. He was more sexually experienced than the rest of them.
Oh, he got all the birds.
Do you think, would you count Will with Charlotte having sex or not?
Yes.
It was a sexual experience. I don't know necessarily if it was sex though.
Yeah, it was sex.
Do you want me to replay him hopping up and down? I know.
But he's the only one that's got as far compared to the rest of the of the guys.
Nah, Neil would have got in there.
Well, Neil is fingered.
Well, yeah, and finger leads to forking, doesn't it?
They just said fingered, so I'm assuming he just ended there.
Well, finger leads to food of the soul.
How you calling me a fish stick?
Fish sticks. Oh, don't we love South Park?
That we do.
Do people compare Inbetweeners to South Park? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
You heard it here first, friends and lovers. An exclusive headline. Yeah, but yeah, Neil also had a fit sister.
Yeah.
And also we had Neil's dad.
Oh, he's super banned.
Super bad. The episode where they're trying to get alcohol, where Will decides that his cover to buying alcohol is his inviting all the adults around, so he's buying all of these crisps. Apparently that was a real life story from Damon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he like tried to dress up older and buy all the chips and accidentally buy some alcohol. I got into drinking in my early 20s, so I didn't have to experience buying alcohol underage and that sort of thing. Did you?
No, I had gone to a party in I think I was 12 or 10.
Jesus!
And my first drink was a Pilsner. Yeah, that was a bit too rough.
Damn, dog. We are revealing it all today.
Yeah.
Hopefully there were no Kennedys in your vicinity. Jesus. But you know, I bloomed. I bloomed very late. So
the petunias.
The petunias are about to bloom, and that's a 30 Rock reference. Thank you, OT.
You're welcome.
So again, I am not judging. If you also started your expedition at 12, then you know, good to you. Power to you. And power to Neil. Oh, Neil.
Oh, Neil.
Going back to the alcohol episode, it culminated in Will getting very, very drunk.
Mm.
And him insulting Neil's dad
Oh, yeah.
and calling him a
Bumders.
bumda. The fuck is a bumda?
I have no bloody idea what a bumder is, but
it is the absolute perfect punctuation.
It is. It
You
really
know,
is.
you know when you're just like freestyling, you're just like seeing whatever you've got in the kitchen, in the pantry, in the fridge, and you're looking at all your seasonings, and there's something missing.
A fucking bumder.
Fucking bumda all over your dinner.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
This show was fucking great.
Yeah.
I cannot wait until our Christmas episode where we actually rate things.
Ooh.
I don't know if you'll be surprised, but I fucking love this show.
I love it too. We've watched it a couple of times now, through and through. So it's a really good rewatchable show.
It's good and it's great, and there are so many moments, and the friendship that these guys have are quite good as well.
Yeah, just don't try the American version.
Fuck me, man.
Don't just sometimes,
I think the only time it works is the American Office,
Yeah.
right?
Because they tried Skins and that was a failure.
I've never watched Skins.
Get out of town.
I love Dev Patel, and as we all know, Daniel Hallelujah, Hallelujah.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never watched Skins, and also Shameless. You like the US Shameless, don't you?
Yeah, Shameless is good. It's
Have
good.
you watched the UK?
I've watched a season of the UK, so I've watched more of the US version.
Oh, scandal!
Controversy. But yeah, bloody hell, the American version is the worst thing that I've ever seen in my life. And that says a
Of the
lot.
Inbetweeners, because they tried to reenact the frisbee scene.
Yeah.
You know, the frisbee scene where they hit a disabled girl. That actress she's actually disabled.
Mm.
And if you were to watch a shot by shot of the original, the only acknowledged in the For Your Reference household Inbetweeners, and the vile inferior trash that is the American one, it just doesn't pay off the same way.
No, it doesn't. Nah, the casting was all over the place as well.
But it was just like the reason why it works is because they're so uniquely British, right? And that's not something that you can transfer. Like The Office, yeah, everyone works in the office. Shameless, yeah, you always have some sort of dysfunctional family. I'm assuming that's what that is.
Yep.
Skins is like a coming of age sort of thing. And I guess you could say that Inbetweeners is just, universal adolescent woes, but I wouldn't say so. Like the actual humor of Inbetweeners is uniquely British.
Oh, yeah.
And it's foul and it's vulgar, but it's also very British, and you can't translate that.
Agreed.
Although, if Australia want to make an Inbetweeners, actually, I'm a bit too old for that bracket now. You see with my walking frame in the background.
Would you be like, Mushemi, how are you doing, fellow kids?
Wow, I love that you have brought up a second 30 Rock reference.
I know, right?
Yes, that would be me, not understanding any. No, I'm kidding. Stop fucking rebooting and remaking shit.
Yeah.
But you know what was great? The 10-year anniversary of Inbetweeners.
Oh,
How good was it?
it was hilarious.
It was fucking brilliant.
Mm,
And you just need to leave it there, really.
leave it there. You reckon they'll do there's nothing to go back to. It's done.
Just rewatch the original stuff. You
Yeah.
don't need to demand new.
Like how they're doing an extra episode of Friends or some shit. I'm like, mate, that was done.
That
be
wasn't
happy, be content. It's fucking finished.
that wasn't on my radar.
Well, apparently they filmed a special episode to show where they are now. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
We already know
You
how
care
it's
because you
bloody
brought it up.
10 seasons. We got 10 seasons. Rarely do you get a show that gets that much. They covered a lot.
Did
done.
How I Met Your Mother get that much?
Almost.
Too much, right?
Too much. Sometimes you need to take things away from them.
Wow.
Is it the 5th season? Oh, yeah. We're closing you down.
Wow, really?
Mm.
Are you proud of yourself?
No, sometimes, mate, there are times where you need just to put a break on there. No, because actually writers usually have a window or an idea of how long they want the show to run, but it's
Well, it
executives
depends on
who
the
try and push
the popularity.
it. Yeah. If you're bringing money, there's no way they're shutting you down. They'll be like, push more episodes.
Well, like in the UK, they manage to do stuff that's very popular, and they also move on from it. So surely there's like a profitable model.
Yeah, because
in there.
syndication and all that shit. You know, you don't have to do a million episodes. Just calm down.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is the main sort of core cast that we have, but there is a brilliant secondary cast that I think we should just touch on with some other characters as well. Let's talk about Mr. Gilbert.
We all had that one teacher who's like Mr. Gilbert.
Just doesn't give a fuck.
Doesn't give a fuck and fucking unapproachable.
There's also an instance where Will has a bin on his head. And all of his buddies are like, don't grass, like don't snitch. And Mr. Gilbert's asking what happened, and Will's about to actually say what happened. And he's like, Will, you're not about to grass. When I ask you, you're going to say that you tripped and fell onto the bin. Let me ask you again. He doesn't fucking care about you, mate.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't care about your welfare.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about anything. Just be as quiet as possible. And I don't even want to know about your existence.
Yeah.
I do feel like he suffered the same way that Jay suffered, because in the movies he just became a bit more outlandish.
Yeah.
So if I want to be super critical and put both of my monocles, which we established were spectacles at that point, I guess I would say that. But I really enjoyed Mr. Gilbert as a character. Greg Davies has gone, well, I'm sure even before this, but he continues to be a Briton darling. He's even got his own show called Taskmasters.
Yeah. And he was an actual teacher.
He was an actual teacher. I feel like, you know, the Briton stand-up comedian starter kit is to be a teacher.
Do you want to make it in stand-up? Do you want to make it in comedy? Be a teacher.
Because Ramesh was also a teacher as well.
And Mobeen.
Right?
Yeah.
Look at you. We're so diverse.
Oh, so diverse, mate.
And I just need to give a shout out to David Mitchell. I feel like he's a professor of everything. I feel like Simon Bird is a fancy little David Mitchell as well. I want to see them in something together. And if they are already in something together, please let me know. But yeah, Mr. Gilbert was he was just like, no bullshit. I don't want to hear about your dreams. Like him at the school dance was I'm pretty sure everyone's experienced that.
Yeah.
So he was an interesting character. I enjoyed him in the TV show. Like I said, the movies are a bit Anything else you want to say about Carly?
Oh, fucking hate her.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
OT609 in his incel forum.
Yep. No, really, like far out, man. If you're not interested, what's the bloody point? And I get the bloody kids, but shit, man, this shit continued way after high school. So,
well, she was pretty, and she used that to her advantage, and she emotionally manipulated Simon. Right? So, like, she had her boyfriend, but she always had Simon there.
Yeah.
And then Simon moved on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember there was a time where he was like playing a song for Carly, and he was like really feeling it? Oh my God, you could not pay me enough. You could not pay me enough to be a teenager again. Fucking hell, man.
Oh, yeah. Bloody wonder how I got through that shit.
Right? Like, I feel like your teenage years is the cruelest thing that could ever happen to you.
Yeah. Man, you're punished to be a teenager. Bloody hell.
Like, what was that? Like, it's just a whole blur.
Yep. And I'd like to know to remain a bloody blur.
A big splooshy blur. This is going to get deeper than I guess it needs to on an Inbetweeners episode. But do you feel like you are who you are at that time, or you found who you were after school?
Oh, definitely found who I was after school. Fucking high school and probably
There's so
did
much
shit all.
noise. There's so much
So
stimulation.
much fucking noise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just need to tune all that out and find your own path. And that definitely didn't happen for me in fucking high school.
Yeah, I think I was the same as well. I think I was like, I'm just going to do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to figure out who I am after that.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was literally just trying to get shit done.
Pretty much.
I went from Katie Winfrey to Katie King. Is that Gail's last name? OT.
Mm-hmm.
OT.
Don't put OT in the corner.
Oh my. If you didn't think we were going to go from Inbetweeners to Gayle King to Dirty Dancing,
Mm-hmm.
you were wrong, friends in love. But also, if you've listened to us before, that should not be a surprise to you.
No, it should not.
There was another character that I wanted to talk about. I'm not sure if you want to talk about anyone else, but I wanted to talk about Donovan.
Oh.
First of all, watching interviews of Henry Lloyd Hughes, who plays Donovan, he seems very sweet. He seems almost like Will in real life.
Mm.
Like his whole demeanor changes just based on the fact that his voice isn't the way that you would think that it would be.
Yeah.
So I guess let's just talk about Donovan as a character. I don't remember which character it was, but they were trying to buy weed off him. It was probably Jay, to be honest. And he like opened the tea leaves and gave it to Jay. What do you think of Donovan as a character? Does he resemble anything that you've ever come across, or?
Nah, man. Never came across anything like that, but he bullied pretty much Will. Yeah, just because Will was interested in Charlotte. I didn't really care for him that much.
I just thought it was fun. I'm not really sure, what was in the cards for a character like Donovan into adulthood, for example. But I think it was an interesting sort of interplay. Any time that Will got his comeuppance was a great time for me. So I really enjoyed having Donovan character around. Is there anything you want to say about Charlotte? She's on the Celebrity Gogglebox.
She is.
Yeah.
No, fair play to her for giving Will his first experience.
Oh my.
Mm.
I thought she was fun. I like that she got a few episodes
Yeah.
in this show as well. She was great.
Yeah. At least she didn't lead people on.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I think casting was very important with this show.
Mm-hmm. And I think not enough praise gets put on casting directors, because I think that they do such an important role, because one slight miscast can just turn the whole show sour. And
Daenerys on Game of Thrones.
I'd put this show on the line for that sort of misplaced casting. There was a show called Camelot.
Is Camelot different to Merlin?
Yes, they put the whingiest, screamy person ever as King Arthur, and it just ruined the show.
Jamie Campbell Bower.
Yeah. So
he was in Twilight.
Oh, was he?
Does that explain it all?
It explains it all.
I remember he was also on the Mortal Instruments, and that didn't do well.
Like, mate, you need your casting director to do a brilliant job, and I think they did a perfect one in Inbetweeners.
Because yes, we say it's a show that doesn't go too deep, but comedy isn't easy to do. Like, you're trying to incite joy or confusion in some cases in regards to comedy, and it's not easy to do. And Inbetweeners thrives. I don't think there were any like bum episodes. I'm pretty sure that's a technical term. I don't think there were any episodes where I was like, this was a waste of an episode.
Oh no.
Like, everything was great. They understood the show that they were making. There was no pretension about it, and we just moved on and we enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it's rare. It's a rare thing to find where you could watch a show throughout its all seasons and not find an episode that you felt like you could skip, or it just didn't please you at all.
It was like a filler.
Yeah, it's like finding the perfect sort of album where you could listen to all the tracks. Like, it's one of those scenarios where you just find something that you love and you could listen to it the whole time. Same with Inbetweeners. You could watch it, rewatch it a million times. That will never get old.
So it's more like Good Kid, Mad City, not To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yup.
Damn, dog. KT Fantano. That was a Kendrick reference and also an Anthony Fantano reference. And if you don't understand any of that because you're listening to Inbetweeners, then that's fine.
It is fine.
We would also be fine if you just went and watched Inbetweeners and had us on in the background. That's how we tend to do it. But thank you so much. Thank you. We take kindly or kind around here in the For Your Reference household. What a show. You know what the nice thing is about Inbetweeners? Even though it took us over a year to cover it on our beloved podcast, it will continue to live on in our viewing catalogs.
Yeah, well.
For many years and years to come.
Yup.
Speaking of, let us move on to the last segment, which we call For Your Reference.
I'm going to reference Derry Girls.
Oh!
Yep. It's a similar sort of setup in high school where you get this four girls who are sort of navigating the life in high school sort of the same way as Inbetweeners, and it's bloody brilliant. It's funny, it's different, and you would enjoy it.
Yeah, and there was also a big shout out to Dairy Girls in the 10-year anniversary of Inbetweeners as well.
Oh yeah,
He said as if he remembered.
I do remember.
Great. That's a great reference, OT.
Mm-hmm.
I will reference Plebs.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to be that person, but if you enjoyed Inbetweeners, you will definitely love Plebs.
Mm-hmm.
Plebs is pretty much the same sort of interplay between young adult men, well, actually more adult than these fellas, trying to navigate Rome.
Mm.
Very interesting. Lithia is a character you need to look out for. Gladiatorial battles, and I can't wait to cover Plebs sometime on our podcast. I'm not sure how popular it is in the outside world, so give us a what shout out if you've ever watched Plebs. And even less probably watched, I will reference Friday Night Dinner.
Good one.
Yeah, it's got our Simon Bird in there as well, and it's also got Tom Rosenthal from Plebs.
An Inception sort of reference.
It's also got your episodes lady.
Oh, Tams and Dries.
Yeah, Greg. Maybe Greece in Kenya. And also poor Ritter. It's a tasty bit of squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
But that is it, friends and lovers.
Oh.
But you know what? If you've been enjoying it, if this is just foreplay to you, then you can continue down our catalog and up our places. On Twitter and Instagram, you can find us on For Your Effort.
You can write us an email at hello@4hourpodcast.com.
And also, if you would be so kind, we also have Apple Podcasts. If you would like to give us a rating and also a review, we will take kindly.
Goodbye, podcast friends.
Bus wankers!